Mate, doing kids is more rewarding. Eh? See when you see, I done the kids. See when you see them getting better and taking on what you're trying to tell them. It's brilliant, man.
Aye, mate. Like week in, week out, can I mate? 100%. Right, I'll start us off then, mate. So obviously, mate, yourself, you played obviously at the highest level in Scottish football. Was that like the pressure? Obviously, it's well documented playing like Celtic or Rangers. Mate, the pressure must be substantial, mate. Like, what was that like in your head?
So when I obviously was only on the bench a couple of times for Celtic and in the squads and stuff like that, but being around like top players like Chris Sutton, Neil Lennon, Alan Thompson, Paul Lambert, they never ever to me anyway seemed nervous or under pressure, and they kind of did that throughout the youth team and the younger boys. Like it was, if you prepare properly and you train well all week, then you shouldn't feel pressure come a Saturday because they were so confident in their ability and their belief in themselves that they could go and play for Celtic in front of 60,000. So I kind of transpired throughout the whole club. And we kind of got that same sort of feeling, just training with them every day and being around them every day, how confident they were and just how much they believed in each other. And when you hear like team talks to Martin O'Neill and Gordon Strachan, they always talk about like self-belief and how important it is. So it kind of instilled in you. And Tommy Burns was the same as a kid. You know, if you're going to play for Celtic, you need to be able to handle the pressure. So I think it's installed in you for other people, mate. So I kind of the rest of my life. So I was never really nervous or worried about going into a game of football. I was more eager to show what I could do and how good I thought I was.
So obviously, mate, there was you mentioned Sutton there. The Sutton stories are fucking brilliant. So the cheeseburger one. So you see stuff like that, like. See, obviously nowadays, like you would, mate, I don't think if I said that to like obviously one of the young boys that I was coaching, like you'll be at McDonald's in a few years' time. So you know what I mean, I can put it by the scruff of the neck. But I think stuff like that, personally, I think stuff like that, like it's like a kind of like some players, like obviously yourself, you saying like you didn't get nervous, like so you could take that on and maybe that kind of eggs you on a bit. But obviously some players would crumble. Do you think like comments like that helped you as well?
Definitely. I love stuff like that. So like. He wasn't doing it a bad. He was trying to make you laugh, mate. Because like something was good for the young boys. Like he used to take us up to training in his Lexus. Like he'd jump in with me into my Lexus, then you'd sit in his car and he'd be like, "I bet you've never been in a car this big." Just funny stuff. It made you feel like he liked you. And obviously that was the way he was brought through as a kid, and it was the same Hartson was brought through. I think he was Luton, Lenny, obviously at Crewe and stuff like that. So it wasn't like in a bad way. It was getting you kind of ready for first team football and just. Kind of the banter that goes on in the dressing room. Because if I hadn't had that, then I went to Swindon with probably the second most ruthless dressing room I've ever been in, other than that Celtic one. I wasn't in the dressing room, but I was around the dressing room working as a young kid. But it's like I went to Swindon, it was a breeze for me, whereas other kids came on loan for Premier League teams and other Scottish teams, and they couldn't handle how ruthless the Swindon dressing room was, whereas I'd experienced it for 5 years at Celtic, so it was a breeze to me. Like, and they always told you the first team, we're getting you ready for first team football. So I think it's sad that you can't be like that anymore, because now what you get is older pros who didn't even speak to kids.
You create that divide, didn't it?
Creates that divide, mate. Whereas with them, they were always getting you involved. If you ever walked through their dressing room, mate, they'd pull you over, they'd have a chat with you, they'd slaughter you, have a laugh, ask you how you were doing after it, and it was brilliant, mate. It was a great feeling. I think that these guys were top players, and they actually took their time out to either slaughter you or help you.
Mate, that's the thing as well. Like, you see teams like Man United, didn't you? I reckon they go in their dressing room and nobody speaks. Like, nobody says a word.
They're all on their phones, mate.
No, mate, 100%. Mate, like, even when he's done when he's interviewed Tierney, he even said that, like, the difference between a Scottish dressing room, because you've got a core kind of group of boys for the same place, the same power, same everything, and then you go to like a different team with different nationalities and all that. It kind of throws it off.
Yeah, that was what was good about that Celtic team when I was a young kid coming through. They were all British based, you know what I mean? So they all grew up in the kind of same era, and they all went through the same sort of stuff, and they were all winners, mate. And that's obviously, again, as I said, that was installed in us. So I couldn't ask for a better upbringing in terms of the coaches that I had and the older players that kind of looked after us. So, and then the team that we had was full of characters, and again, that came for Tommy Burns, who most of us are like, you know, his personality rubbed off on us, not just in terms of I think we all play football similar ways as well. I still play with Ryan Conroy at Peterhead, and we're on the same wavelength. You know, it's because we've been brought through the same way with Tommy. If you look at other guys that came through with us, we all kind of play with the exact same style, and we've all got a similar pattern, and it's all down to how he brought us up.
That's important, isn't it? Like, these are all in the same kind of piece of paper kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I speak to a lot of boys in football, and I don't know anyone that still speaks to boys in their youth. Like, we've still got a group chat where 12 of us in it for the youth team, and we all go out once a year, and we're all speaking constantly. So it's a special thing that we had. Like, and as I say, it was all through like Tommy and the coaches there.
That's class. That's what you want, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. That's what like. I think the best bit about football, being involved in football, is the memories and the people that you meet.
The social kind of aspect.
Definitely, mate. It's like similar people to yourself, boys that have grew up. We probably know much. Do you know what I mean? We all came into Celtic and we're all from similar backgrounds and kind of all just got on so well, and it says a lot that we all still kind of speak to each other.
Mate, 100%. As well, so see when you were playing, like no matter what club, did you ever have a pre-match ritual? Did you ever had something like you done individually yourself?
Pre-match ritual. I used to go to the bookies before every game, but that's probably I was on your own to bet. Nah, not really, mate. As I say, I wasn't superstitious of that, man. I was just wake up, bit of breakfast, down to the ground, get the boots on, play, and then get up the road. The after-match ritual was always a night out after it, but
you can't do it anymore, eh?
Before the game, nah, not really, mate. I wasn't the one for that. Like, you used to get some boys that would put their right boot on first and their left boot on second, and
aye.
Load of nonsense for me, mate. So
was there any odd ones you seen?
The Canny was superstitious, mate. So
aye.
We I told this as well. We got it's a trophy called the Johnson's Paint Trophy. Right. We play the semi-final in December, and then the final's not until the summer.
Right, okay.
In December it was freezing. He had a hat, a scarf, body warmer, parka on, because obviously it was freezing. So because we wore that in December, when we got to the final in like whatever May or something it was about 90 degrees in London, mate. He had the same clothes on. So on the side it was in buckets of sweat, man.
No chance.
2 minutes, mate. There's my door. I'll be 2 seconds.
No worries.
Sorry, mate.
No, that'd be daft. So, see when you were playing a role, like, do you think there was like someone that stood out that was like the harshest? Obviously, you say you kind of took it on, but like even if you did, but do you think someone like really came down heavy?
So when I left Celtic?
Either or, mate. Like just in general, through your footballing career, like was it a player? Was it like a coach? Do you know what I mean? Who did you feel came down?
So Lenny was quite tough on me when I was a kid at Celtic. Obviously, I played his position. And he hated when you were being like if you done anything sloppy, like you would hate it. You had such high standards on stuff like that. Like getting the ball with trying something, he wouldn't bother. But when it was the simple stuff and you were sloppy, he would hate it. When I went to Swindon, guy I played centre midfield, there was a guy called Jonathan Douglas. He's got like 15 cats for Ireland.
Right.
He was tough on me, but in a good way, mate. So like after a game, he would say to me like, "No, you weren't good enough today," and then if I played really well, he would say like, "Oh, it was a pleasure to play with you." So
I get it.
Honest with you, and that's what you want as a player. I think you want people to be honest with you. And again, I think that's gone away for kids. I don't think there's enough correction with kids now.
No,
I think it's nice, and we didn't tell them when they're not doing something right. So how are they ever going to learn from their mistakes? And then obviously the Canio, mate, who was probably the harshest guy in the world. But again, it worked, mate, because I played the best football of my career under him, and it was all through correction and fear of not doing it for him, mate. In terms of working hard enough, he could accept you trying things and it not working, but in terms of not working hard enough or not being in the right position when the other team had the ball, it just wasn't acceptable. And I agree, because it's no anyone can do it. It's just about concentrating and working hard. Do you know what I mean? It's being lazy when you're not doing it right. So if he's the guy that's next on the line for the job, then I totally agree that if somebody's not doing what they're asked, then they need to be criticised.
I mean, that's it as well. Like, see, like whenever I'm coaching kids, obviously I don't coach a team myself, but like the boy, like an older guys that coach it maybe at the same time as me, like, mate, see the amount of encouragement, like, you know, if they're no like tracking back or they're not doing something right, it'll be like, "Oh, well done." It's like, mate, I hate it. Like, stop them and tell them. Because if you don't do it now, they'll never do it.
100%. They need to be corrected. It's funny because I've got joiners working on my house right now, and there's an apprentice. There's something wrong. They didn't say well done to him. They tell him that's not right. It needs to be done like this. And it's like any walk of life. Football's no different. It's like any walk of life. If somebody was working for a big business and they weren't doing something right, they'd be told. Football's the same. Like kids, even kids as young as 9 and 10 for me, they need to be told. That's the age where they get into bad habits or where you can shape them as a person and as a player. So when I was coaching 10-year-old kids, mate, if they needed to be corrected, it'd be stopped and they'd be told, mate. If somebody wasn't working hard enough, if somebody wasn't doing what was asked of them, then they'd be told. Otherwise, they'll keep doing it for the rest of their careers.
Mate, 100%.
You're not doing it in a bad way, mate. You're doing it to help them. That's what I always say to people and boys at Peterhead that I coach and the kids at Celtic that I used to coach. I'm not doing this for my benefit. I'm doing it because I help you in the long run. So definitely corrections a must, mate.
Do you think it's like not necessarily easier, but what would you think the difference is? Like, as you said, you coach 10-year-olds. What do you think the main difference is between like 10-year-olds and like Peterhead?
So Peterhead, when they're at that age, mate, it's not hard to make them better because our boys are good, mate, and they want to listen, they want to get better, but they've got a lot of bad habits which they'll just do naturally, and it's hard to get them to stop doing that.
Because they've been doing it for so long.
But with kids, you've got a blank page, mate. Do you know what I mean? You're the guy who's basically going to shape how they're going to play for the rest of their careers. Because I was speaking to like the Dutch, we went over a tournament, the Ajax guy was saying like their under-9 coach gets paid the most because that's the most important part of the development.
Totally.
Whereas here we did it the other way, which is totally wrong because when they get to 18, 19, they're for me, they're the player they're going to be.
I'm made.
Things here and there in terms of positional wise and their understanding of the game, but in terms of ability and decision making at 18, 19, I think the core of what they're going to be is there. So at 9 and 10, mate, it's all about for me getting them into good habits.
Mate, 100%. As you said, like a blank page. I think we mean like what you said about it's not that they don't learn it, and maybe they've just got a wee bit like that less time to kind of pick up on it or to kind of get their bad habits out of the way.
Yeah. So at my level, mate, boys are working in that. So it's hard to, and you only get them for 2 nights a week, mate, for tours. So it's hard to actually focus on individual weaknesses and try and make them better. So try to do it as a collective on the things that you think the team need to work on. As I say, whereas at 10 and 11, I was massive on seeing what kids individually needed to work on and taking them aside, whether it was for 20 minutes here and there, taking them aside or giving them drills to do at home that they can make them better at their weaknesses. Whereas with first team, it's tough to do that when they're working 9 to 5 and then they're rushing to training.
Mate, I know it's a big ask. What was the next one? So see, like, not even necessarily like Swindon. See if you individually, mate. Like, if you lost a game, like, how in your head would you like kind of come back to that, or how would you talk to yourself?
That's a good question. I was never really one for worrying about bad games, mate. Because I think it was Tommy that used to say to us, like, as long if if you know that you've came off that pitch and you've tried your best to play to work as hard as you can, to be brave if you were having a bad game, to continue to get on the ball, because you see the best players in the world, mate. They give the ball away all the time. What classes a bad game, mate, is giving the ball away every time you've got it, but setting up 2 goals and scoring a bad game.
Exactly.
It's hard to define a bad game for me. Maybe a game I've gave the ball away a lot, but I know that I've worked really hard and I've won the ball back and I've been a good teammate. That could be a good game. So I don't really think about good games and bad games. I think about, did I work as hard as I can? Did I try and carry out the manager's instructions? Yes. Did I give the ball away? Yes, of course I am, because I'm playing in League One in England. That's what I say to our boys here. I don't care about mistakes and getting the ball away. It's how you react to the mistakes. Are you brave enough to go and get the ball again? Is your reaction good after you've gave it away to go and get it back, or to get into shape quickly? And then that for me as a coach is what I look for in a good game and a bad game. It's a guy who's fully switched on when the ball goes out of play. Is he switched on quick, or is he daydreaming? That for me, he gives the ball away. If it's a bad reaction, that's a bad game for me, because your head's not in the game. You're not focused. And that's the things as a coach, as I say with the Canio, it's rubbed off onto me. I can't accept. A bad game for me is not somebody getting the ball away all the time, because that happens.
Totally.
It's what your definition of a good game and a bad game is. So Paul Heffernan as well, a hero at Dundee, always used to say to me, like, never get too high, never get too low, because as I say, 1 week you could be brilliant, and the next week it's just football, isn't it?
It could change.
Every game plans out differently, mate. As I say, it's just as long as you're trying your best and you're trying to carry out instruction, then I can accept mistakes in players.
Mate, that's what I think as well. Like, see, everyone always talks about like stats and like forms for players. I mean, I don't think like I do. Mate, I think forms like it's how a game goes and how you set up. I don't think you score because last game you scored 2. I think that doesn't exist, mate.
Stats for me are a load of rubbish, mate. Even the running stats. So, mate, and I think that's what makes a good coach and a bad coach. You can see things with your eyes in a game, mate.
Aye.
You didn't need stats.
Mate,
Your fitness coach comes to me and says, "Oh, he ran 13k. He only ran 11k." But I'll say, "Well, he done 11k. He done less running because he was in he was in his position quicker.
Aye, more.
And he didn't need to run 20 yards to get back because he was in his position earlier where he stops him for having an attack." So for me, stats are all the rubbish, mate. And I say that passionately because it does my nothing when you hear about stats and, all right, you kept the ball 91 times, but how many times, 91% of the times, but how many times did you pass the ball forward? How many chances did you create as a centre midfielder?
Mate, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Mate, you can flip them. I think they're like, mate, stats are so subjective. Like, so you can say, like, as you said, like the kilometre thing. Like, you look at a player like Messi, mate, best player in the world, like arguably the best player ever. Mate, he walks about the park, doesn't he run?
Yeah.
And he'll get like a hat trick.
And that's obviously a game plan for the coach as well, do you know what I mean?
Aye.
For him to almost kind of cheap, but exactly, mate. So what, if Messi stats come back that he's not doing enough, are you going to drop him? No.
Exactly.
It was Bruno Fernandes, I think he gave the ball away, I tweeted it the other week, gave the ball away 32 times. Whereas other midfielders at Man United probably never gave it away the whole game, but who's the guy that creates the 2 goals and scores the goal?
Aye, I know exactly, mate.
What one are you wanting, mate? Do you know what I mean?
That's it, mate. Did you, so, mate, like, I'm trying to think how to word this or what this. Did social interactions, like, see your stuff, like, your players around you, like the first team dressing room, did that obviously help you as well, like, train harder? Can I play harder?
I did, as I say, like, they had, so every day was like a World Cup final at Celtic, man. Honestly, the training was so intense, it was so quick. It wasn't anything fancy, mate. It was like boxes and then into 3 15-minute games. But the 15-minute games would be coached. So if you were doing something wrong throughout the game, like either a player in Lenny or Sutton or Thompson would tell you were doing something wrong, and it would come from the side with Stratton or whether it was Walford when Martin O'Neill was there for the couple of times that I trained. And that's coaching for me, mate. That's learning the game, playing at a high intensity. You need to make decisions quickly. If you are out of position here and there, it's not stopped and it's a 2-minute here. We need the coach loving the sound of his voice. He's pulled over to the side of the pitch and says, "See in that incident there, you should be here. See when you're pressing Lenny there, you should press him like this. Right, get back on and do it." That was the way you had to learn quick. And if you didn't, you'd be back down with the youth team. And I think that's why guys like McGeady and Mulgrew went on to be top players. Was that they had to think for themselves. It wasn't a robotic. They weren't stopped and put in a position. It was either you get this done now and you take it in quickly, or you'll not be here and we'll get somebody else up. He can do it, he'll stay in. And that was kind of, you always have to be on the top of your game. And that's what I think kids didn't have. I don't think every time they go to training, I don't think they're on it. Because I think it's a lot of standing about now. There's a lot of passing goals. You pass to that, cone, and that's not how you learn football. You learn football in a fast tempo environment where you need to make decisions for yourself. And like I say, if you didn't, you'll not be there for much longer. You quickly learn, mate. You quickly learn.
Aye, but as I say, like that leads me as well. Who is the best player you trained with? Like, do you know what I mean? Like you get people that, as you said, like Lenny and that would just constantly make everything to win the ball every single time they had it.
Yeah, the best I trained was probably McGeady. Was amazing, mate.
Aye.
McGeady would do things that you would just like what? How has he done that, man? Like again, I don't think Aiden fulfilled his potential. I think Aiden could have been world class. We used to go to trips away and play Barcelona and Real Madrid, and Aiden was the best player by a mile.
Aye.
He's so two-footed, mate. He could stick the ball in the stands from his left foot, right foot. When he came up to you dribbling, he could go one way or go the other way. He could zing the ball with 2 feet. Great passer of the ball. He could work hard. He could tackle. He could do everything. And I always say this to him, like, I ruined him getting moved out wide because for me, he was a central player. He had all the attributes to play in the middle. Good with his back to goal. Could pop it off first time. And as I say, in training, mate, like the things he could do with a ball were just ridiculous. Paddy McCourt was another one. Again, these kind of creative players get put out wide. For me, Paddy McCourt was a central player. had to play in the centre of the pitch. He was a good passer of the ball, could dribble, could shoot, could score, could tackle Paddy as well. So probably in terms of natural ability, Paddy and Naden would be the two that would stand out. Sean Maloney was a great trainer as well. Sean Maloney was a brilliant player. Sean Maloney again was the one of them that had the ability but had the work rate and the enthusiasm to match. So I'd probably say they three. Yeah.
They three. Wait, I was going to say like yesterday about like how he got moved out wide. I don't think that's what happened to Jack Grealish. Like he played centre attacking mid for Aston Villa. It was unbelievable. Influences everything in the middle of the game. Then England stuck him at left wing.
Yeah, I would have Jack Grealish in the middle of the pitch in a 3 as well. I don't think he could play in a 2 in the middle of the pitch, but I think in a 3, Jack Grealish that's probably his position.
Aye, totally, mate. So then, did you think, like, obviously training? Was there a certain expectancy? Because obviously you were coming through from the youth, so did a lot of like older boys expect a lot from you in training? And if so, did you feel it?
Of course it did, mate. Like, so when you went up to train with them, there was you weren't a young boy anymore. You were one of the first team. So if you weren't up to that level, then they would quickly tell you. But again, if an older player wasn't up to the level on the day, they'd be told as well. So that's just the way it was. And like I say, it was a ruthless business, mate. If you went up and you never done well, you maybe wouldn't see the first team again for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Aye.
You would be called up the next day. So you knew that when you were running over there, whether it was a warm-up, whether it was a passing drill, whether it was boxes, possession, games, you had to be on it, man. Otherwise, you'd be told, and then even more upsetting is you wouldn't be back. It wouldn't be left wondering why am I not back up with the first team. You'd be pulled aside and said, listen, see the day that wasn't good enough. So,
do you think?
Yeah, sorry.
So no, sorry. I was just going to say, do you think that like that at Celtic as well, that your playing time like influenced you as a coach then massively?
Mate, my time at Celtic, every day, and I've learnt in my time at Celtic, I take into coaching, whether it was through Tommy Burns or the older players, in terms of the attitude that you need to have, the personality that you need to have to play at a top team, and then how you perform and train as a top player. I'm obsessed with ask any boy at Peterhead. I do not accept boys turning up and going through the motions, mate. That's in legal in Scotland. I can't accept it because maybe every manager bar a couple of coaches had that. I was lucky that I had a manager or a coach that demanded that every day you turn up, you gave your all. And like I say, if you didn't, then you wouldn't be there. And then also that personality and bravery of getting on the ball. I can't accept players turning up and not wanting the ball. That's why we play football. We want to keep the ball. They're the 2 things that I can't accept for a player. Turning up and no working hard enough, and turning up and just going happy to get through the session, mate, without actually getting on the ball and influence the session. Players that are hungry to get on the ball. You know, I think too many guys in Scotland are happy to run up and down a pitch without actually showing the personality to go and get on the ball and make mistakes and get on the ball again.
Mate. 100%. Like, see, you're saying that obviously that as well. Like, see when on the podcast, like Slaney talks about, like, he says it half jokingly, right? But I think does it kind of mean it when he says that if he made a mistake in the ball, he would hide to the rest of the game?
Yeah.
So like, is that stuff about him like no wanting to get picked off the bench, like genuinely true? Like he hated that so much.
I think so, mate. Because as I say, it was an intimidating environment.
Aye.
And because if he did give the ball away, you'd get slaughtered. But that was a test of your character. Are you brave enough to go and get it again? And as I say, some people were, the likes of McGeady and Mulgrew and Sean Maloney and guys like Ross Wallace and Tierney who went on to make it. They had the bravery to go and get it again and think, nah, fuck it, I don't care if you're going to shout at me and scream at me. I'm going to get the ball again. Whereas others who were equally as talented, mate, like probably myself and maybe Slaney, and there'll be hundreds of others, believe me, who never had that mentality to be brave enough to go and get on it again and make mistakes. And ultimately, that's why we are sitting here doing podcasts and they boys are sitting in 10-bedroom houses.
Oh, mate. As well, that's a question. Like, you have the idea. You see what you have done for this week. See, like, I have never seen unity between Rangers and Celtic fans in my life until this was you. That was you, mate. That you've done that. I swear to God.
I don't know, mate. Say what we're thinking here. Laugh, mate. I can't believe how big it's got, but like mate,
everyone,
good on it as well, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Well, sorry.
Halliday's been good for it as well. I think he's really good, man. I like his opinions on football and the way he talks about the game. So I think Halliday and like that's the thing. I think like the interviews and the podcast have kind of lets people see that Andy Halliday is not an arsehole. Do you know what I mean? He's just a normal guy. Like, he's just a Rangers fan who got lucky to play for his team and vice versa on the Celtic side with the Celtic boys that were on interview, Rangers fans who thought they were arseholes, and then they quickly, like Aidan McGeady, quickly realised he's not an arsehole, he's just a normal boy that's done quite well and loves
yeah. Mate, use it. Oh, honestly, see nowadays, obviously, I'm in school bride, mate. I can't leave my house without hearing. Like, obviously, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, mate. I talk about it, I know, but everyone talks about it now.
Ah, brilliant, mate. I love it. It's good, man. I'm enjoying it. It's good to just get talk about football all the time.
Mate, do you think like playing as well as coaching helps you do that, like do the interviews and kind of break down football? Does that, like on the show, does that help?
No, not really. I think it's a love for football, mate. I think coaching matters. Like, I think just your love for the game, and I watch every game of football, mate. Like, if there's a game of football on the telly, I'll watch it, and I'm not just watching, mate. I analyse it. Pure. Now that I coach, and obviously that's kind of what I want to do. I analyse every game on how I want to see the game played, and so I think that helps me. I think that's what's missing for coaching is coaches that have actually got a right love of the game.
Exactly.
Coaching and asking other coaches, did you watch that game last night? Did you watch Match of the Day last night? And they didn't watch it, which baffles me. I cannot understand why you would want to do football as your job and you didn't watch it. You know, I'm obsessed with football, mate. I say this, any other subject, mate, I'm lost. If anyone starts speaking about anything other than football, I switch off, mate. I can't actually take anything else in other than, but when it's football, mate, it's like, that's when you come alive.
It's like hard to engage in. I feel you like football's just kind of everything.
Yeah. So I've said this loads of times. My mother-in-law slaughters us for it, but when they're like clever, mate. They know about politics, art, everything. When I go to their house, I sit silent, mate, until it goes on to football, and then I'm bang, in we go, and then I'm just desperate that the subject doesn't go off football again.
Does the conversation ever get to football?
Constantly. That's what I was speaking about, but because they're big, massive Celtic fans as well, so we'll always be talking about kind of football, but then my brother-in-law's he's like a scientist, so he'll try and shift the conversation out of his side, and I'll always try and get it back to football. So the battle for the conversation, mate.
That's it. So you were saying, like, kind of just there. What were you like before a game? Were you like, you were nervous? You just took it as it kind of came, I'm assuming.
Well, see, like, especially when I was with the Canny at Swindon, I always think you get nervous, mate, when you're underprepared,
Aye.
So Swindon, mate, we were so well drilled. We knew our jobs inside out. We knew what we had to do. We knew everything about the opposition. So there's nothing to be nervous about. As I say, you wouldn't want it would go mad because you made a mistake on the ball, like trying something. So that pressure was kind of gone. The only pressure that you had was that you were on it, and you had to make sure that you're working as hard as you can. You were switched on when the other team had the ball, and you'd be fine for there. So, like I say, you just kind of telling yourself that when you go out here, give you a lot. And the Canny done that for you, though, because he made you realise how lucky you were to be a football player, earning the money that you won. The least you can do is go out and try as hard as you can. It's not a lot to ask, and try and carry out the instruction. He obviously reminded you that people had paid good money and worked all week to come and watch you. So it was easy, mate. Like, as I say, but I think when you know your job, and if you were going out there and you didn't have a clue what the other team done, and you didn't know what the manager wanted you to do, then there maybe be a wee bit of nerves. But just the fact that how well drilled we were, and then there was no nerves kind of there.
Mate, 100%. Do you think as well, was there a certain like person you played against, even at youth level, mate, like, or professional? Was there an opponent you came against and you're like, fuck, I don't want to go anywhere near him again? Was there someone that stood out for you?
Nah, like, see, when I was young, I was like, say, a top player. Like, I got a 4-year deal at Celtic when I was like 17. So, as I say, just the belief that Tommy Burns kind of instilled in me and us as a team and players, like, I always felt went on the pitch thinking I was the best player, and
that's the best way, mate. But 100%, aye.
Yeah, like, well, we're always told that before every game, you're Celtic. You're the best player in the country. You play for the best team in the country. Go and show it. It's up to you now. Go and show it. And that's what they were brilliant at Celtic. They just made you feel like, Tommy especially, made you feel like you're the best player in the world. Like, I played in the Youth Cup final. I think I was just turned 17, and with Charlie Mulgrew, I was playing like 2 years above myself.
Aye. And
before the game, Tommy was like to me, "You're going to be the best player on the pitch today, I know." And I went and got man of the match, and against someone that was 1-3-1, playing like 2 years above myself. So I had a great mentality when I was younger in terms of thinking I was the best. After I got injured and I was out for 2.5 years, that probably kind of went. Just in terms of, I knew I wasn't the same player as I was before. The sharpness had kind of gone, and that's what I say when when you're no prepared the way I was before, that's when you start to get nervous, because you know you're maybe a wee bit heavier than what you used to be. You know that wee bit quicker than what you were before. So that's when the nerves start keeping in. But in terms of when I was a kid, mate, I absolutely feared no one. Like, we used to go to Rangers at Murray Park and beat them 5-0, and their team, like, I think we went 2 years unbeaten, won the league and won the Youth Cup 2 years in a row. So there was never any nerves as a kid, mate. That's good coaching for me, because I think if kids are going out nervous and something's not right,
you've not been over it enough.
Yeah, because kids are the most confident, like 16 to 18, they're the most confident people. They should be the most confident people in the world, especially if they're at a club like Celtic and Rangers, mate. So there was never any nerves for me as a young player.
Do you think, what was the injury that you got?
I had to get like 3 operations on my ankle. So
Jesus. Do you think then, like, what was it? Actually, that's one of the questions I had down. What was it like in your head? Like, you're saying 2.5 years. So what was it like running through your head in that 2.5 year?
Oh, it was horrible. It was a low time, man. Obviously, the one thing that was not good, but 2 of my other mates were out for 2.5 years as well at the same time, like Nicky Riley and Charlie Grant. So that kind of helped me that we were on the same boat. But like, there was some lonely nights, mate, like lying in bed worrying about getting a job and having to retire, and it was tough, mate. But again, there was great people at Celtic around you who would keep your spirits up and keep the confidence up. Not just for like youth team talking, like first team managers and Gordon Strachan telling us not to worry and chatting to you constantly and telling you everything was all right. They're going to do their best for you. So like, if I never had day two, and then obviously the support around us for coaches and physios and players, then God knows what it'd have been like. But it wasn't nice, mate. Just that feeling of a physio or a surgeon telling you everything was fine and you were ready to go again, and you could still feel a pain in your ankle and you knew yourself that
wasn't right.
And they're telling you they've scanned it and there's nothing there. But it was only till I went and seen another specialist who x-rayed that he seen what the actual problem was, and he fixed it. But even now, mate, I can't strike a ball because my ankle hurts to kick it now. So I can only side foot the ball. I've made a career not being able to strike the ball, mate, which is astonishing, man.
Mate, I'm the same. That's what I was saying obviously earlier on. I done my meniscus like a year and a half ago, like a teeny tear, mate, like a paper clip.
Right.
And, I went to surgeon like about half a year ago now, and I went to surgeon, and he goes, the thing is we could have reconstructed it, which is obviously better if you're young. If you got to me within the first 4 or 6 weeks, I was like, mate, it's been a year. Like, how am I supposed to get you in for a month?
Mate. Like, Wee Slaney was the same. He's hit me like he's in the exact same boat. So there'll be hundreds of stories like that, mate. It's sad.
Mate. So as well, like how what's one here? So as a coach, you're saying how you prepared like for a game. Your preparation was minimal. You know what I mean? Task focused, kind of came in, done what you had to do because you knew what you had to do. Yeah. So see, as a coach, do you kind of install the same thing in your players, or do you talk to them, or do you individually? I mean, go around them. What is it you do?
As I say, it's hard, mate. Like, if I was full time, you'd take a lot more time to prepare. In that kind of training, you've got to keep it short and sharp because, as I say, they've been working all week. They didn't want to come and stand about for 20, 30 minutes. They'll lose concentration. So kind of just chats before games, after games on how they've done, what I think they need to improve on, especially with the younger boys. As I say, with the older boys, it's tough, mate, because 27, 28, yeah, of course, you can make them better in small areas, but the younger ones especially, you know, obviously you want to win games, but you also want to see players getting better. So the younger boys especially, I'll take a lot of time out to tell them how they're doing and think they can work on, because obviously I don't want to see these boys playing at Peterhead for the rest of their careers. I want them to get better and go and play in the SPL and maybe down south if that comes about. But ultimately, it's down to them. If they want to get there, they need to work hard outside the football. As I say to them as well, I know it's tough and you've got a job, but these are the sacrifices that you need to make if you want to go and be a football player. Only you can do that. I can't come and hold your hand and take you for an extra running, because for me, 2 nights a week's not enough if you want to go and play in the championship and the SPL, because these boys are training every day.
I know.
For you to get to their level, you need to be doing what they're doing. So I can't do that for you. Ultimately, you need to go and do that yourself. So whether that's running or going and seeing a personal trainer or going to the gym, or even taking a boy out and working on your weaknesses yourself, that's up to you. You know, I can only do so much for you. I'm working as well, mate. So I can't come and.
I know, that's it.
That's what's the tough thing about part-time coaching, mate. Obviously, you got them for 4 hours a week, which is nothing compared to a first-team environment where if you had them every day, you can really focus on their weaknesses. But it's good, mate. The boys, as I say, we've got good lads who I think they do things away from football themselves. And then obviously Tuesday and Thursday we just try our best to kind of make the team better and then make them individually better as well.
Wait, 100%. So see if like you're playing again, obviously you're as a coach. I know I'm kind of going on the coaching questions. See like in a game, like and somebody's having like as you said, like a bad game, maybe it was a younger kid or maybe one of the students. How is it you deal with that? Like how is it you kind of correct? Do you correct them there and then, or do you kind of wait till the game's done, or how is it you work it?
No, well, so on the side, I'm quite vocal on the side. I like to not coach for the side, but encourage me. So we had a kid, Lyle Cameron, we've got on loan for Dundee, who's 17-year-old. He was brilliant when he first came in, and then he's had a couple of bad games, and his head goes down quite quickly. And I pull him and say, "This is a test of your career. Your ability is not in doubt. I've no doubt that your ability could take you to the top level. Now's the challenge in your life at 17-year-old is can you come back for the mental side of it where you've had a couple of bad games? Can you be brave enough to still go and play the way you were playing before? No playing safe, because that's what I said to him. For me, when you're having a bad game, you go safe. You start playing safe. And that's not your game. But ultimately, you'll continue to have bad games if you change your game and you start playing within yourself. And then ultimately, that's not your game. So you'll get worse and worse because you're not a 5-yard passer. You're not a 10-yard back the way passer. So what ends up happening is you'll be passing the ball back the way they'll take it. What you're good at is getting the ball and dribbling it. So keep doing it and see if he takes the ball off you while you're doing it. And so what work, as I say, it's your reaction to win it back. So it's that mental side of it, mate, where you just need to kind of encourage them to keep being brave and use examples of top players having bad games. I used the example, I'm a Bruno Fernandes getting it away 31 times in a game. But then again, ultimately, as I say, you can only do so much for him. You know, you didn't want to bombard him with information and don't worry. Because it needs to come from within. It can't come from a coach on the side. You can give them wee bits here and there, but this is a wee test for Lyle now, is can he get through this? And as I say, it's only really him that can do that.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. What would you say then your biggest achievement in football was?
Biggest achievement would probably be winning a league. So winning the League 2 with Swindon with the Canio. So tough down south, mate. I think you play something like 40 odd games, or I think that game we played 50 odd games, including cup games. So to play a full season and win a league's a great feeling, mate. Just knowing that you've been the best team in that league over the course of 40 odd games is brilliant. And especially playing the way we did. Like, we played really good football under the Canio. And as I say, you're just proud that you've managed to achieve something through basically working hard and living your life properly for a year, which is a big achievement for me in itself. So winning a league down south was a massive achievement for me. Yeah. So I would probably say that winning the League 2.
Night out must have been good after that one then.
Where did we go? I don't think it was a night out. I think it was a week out. I think we went.
It was a week.
I think it was 3 or 4 days in London, which was can't really remember much of it. But brilliant.
Did the Canio come? Did he come up with us?
Canio took us for a meal, I think, the next week. We went for a meal in an Italian restaurant in Swindon, and the Canio sat and had pizza and red wine with us and a couple of beers. So a good company, mate. He was funny, eh? Like at the dinner table, he'd always be slagging boys and telling stories and that. So he was good company, mate. He liked a glass of red wine. We went to Italy for pre-season. He liked a couple of beers and came to a nightclub and that with us as well. So good guy.
Do you ever still speak to him? Do you ever still in contact with him?
Nah, I was until about a year ago. But he changes his number all the time, because I don't know why. Well, he's a bit of a paranoid wreck, man. Probably people it something, but he changes his number all the time. So I used to speak to him through his assistant as well, but I think they had I don't think they speak as much anymore. So I've not spoken to him for a while.
All right, okay. So as well, like you thought about, are you the same kind of? So obviously, like, see before you, what was the first interview that you done on Open Goal? Was it Kevin Thompson, wasn't it?
Kevin Thompson, mate, yeah.
So see before you started that, obviously not anymore because how many you've done, but were you nervous before you went into that kind of side of football, like kind of podcasting and talking about it?
The interviews that I was nervous, mate. Definitely. Like, obviously, I didn't have a clue what was